Today is Toyota Tacoma Lifting Day. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to RobMotive. And that's right, today is Toyota Tacoma Lift Day. Now, if you're new to the channel, we've had a lot of new people recently. I have a 2021 Toyota Tacoma. This is the SR5 trim level, and I've lifted it. This is my first real drive since having the lift, so you're kind of coming along with me. And I've got to say, so far, I can't tell any difference in the way the truck feels on the road, the way it's handling, its comfort level, if you will, nothing. I am very, very happy with what I decided to do. So you may be wondering, and I've kind of hinted at it, maybe even told you guys, but now I can confirm what it is I decided to do. First of all, I did nothing in the rear. The rear is stock, nothing at all done. In the front, I replaced the OEM or the stock shocks with Bilsteins. I went with Bilstein adjustable 5100s. Now, I did that because I didn't want to do anything block and spacer or coil related. I've done that before. I wanted to try something different on the channel, and this is definitely different for me. And I gotta say, so far, and it's really early yet, so stay tuned for future impressions. But they are adjustable. There are, I believe, 4 adjustments that you can make. There is stock or no adjustment, just whatever they're set at. There is the first, which is 0.65, that's the height. And then there is 1.1 inches, and then I believe it's 2.75 on the highest setting. Now, I went with 1.1 inches. Now, there's a reason I did that. There's a few reasons I did that. One, I didn't want to go full bore, if you will. I didn't want to exceed the maximum capacity of the shock. You know, the higher you go, the less shock there is, if you will, to absorb bumps and stuff. So I didn't want to max them out. And if I would have had to have maxed them out to get to what I wanted, I would have gone a different route. So 1.1 inches is what I did, and that doesn't make my truck level. You see, I took into account what I'm going to do with this truck, and I think it's a good idea to do that if you're looking at lifting your truck as well, if you're going for level. My plan is to have a level truck when I'm done. Right now, or before I did it, I should say, the truck was 1 1/4 inches higher in the rear end. So obviously, by going with a 1.1 inch lift in the front, I'm not dead on level. But like I said, there's a reason I did that. And that reason is I'm adding a sport bar. It's the same sport bar that was on my 2020 Tacoma, but I'm adding that to the back of this truck. And of course, it has weight to it, more than I thought it did. So what I did is I took a couple of tires that I had sitting around that are for sale, by the way, on the channel, the OEM tires and wheels, and I put them in the back of the truck. Gave me just a little bit more than what the sport bar itself weighs, but close enough that it shouldn't matter. And by the way, those tires and wheels, the combo, each one weighs 52.9 pounds. A bit heavier than I thought. I am sure that the setup I have now, I'm going to have to do a little research, but I would believe the setup I have now is at least equal to or less than 52.9 pounds per. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think I've trimmed some weight off of the truck in the process of putting different wheels and tires on it. So I'm still driving. I'm right now on the bumpiest road I drive on. You can probably see the camera moving. It's kind of moved a little bit on its mount. And me kind of, my speech, I guess. But it is the bumpiest road I travel on, and it doesn't feel any different. It feels exactly the same as what it did before I did the front end lift. So I am very happy. This so far is my best experience in lifting a truck in any fashion. And yeah, I know I didn't lift the whole truck, but there's really no reason to. I gained an inch by putting taller tires on. So I kind of lifted the truck that way. And then of course we gained another 1.1 inches in the front on top of the inch that I gained in the tires themselves. So front end impact really was about 2.1, 2.4, something like that inches in the front. So I'm very happy with it. One thing I want to mention to anybody out there who's looking to level your truck, there is a ton of misinformation out there. You know, putting a 2-inch lift on the front of the truck is not going to level your truck. The rear end of the Tacoma is not 2 inches higher than the front end. So if you do that, you're gonna have what I've called a negative rake. Instead of being like this, you're gonna be like this. I'm not a big fan of that look myself. If that's what you're going for, then hey, more power to you, you know? But you really don't need to go more than probably about 3/4 of an inch. That'll give you 1.5 inches. And that's about the difference. And it probably varies a little bit per truck, so you should measure your own. But 1.5 inches, which is a 3/4 inch spacer, will give you a level Tacoma, assuming yours measures out the same way as mine. Now, you could go with the Bilstein setup like I did, maybe 0.65, maybe 1.1. If you do that, you're still going to be a little bit higher if you go with a 1.1 and you're not weighting down the back at all. So just be aware of that. A 2-inch block, which seems to be the holy grail of what people do to level their truck, is not accurate. 2 inches is going to give you a negative rake. That's what I like to call it in the front. So just beware. Why did I go with this? I gotta say, I thought about going with a higher lift than I had before, and that turned out to be a 3.5, 2. It was supposed to be 3, but it yielded a little bit more than that when I measured it. And I didn't really want to go higher than that because then I'd get into other parts and things that I'd have to change, and I just did not want to mess with that. You know, sometimes you can do too much and just mess the truck up. So I decided after I put the taller tires on, and they're 265/75 R16s, that the truck was looking pretty darn good. And all I really needed to take care of was the front end. Plus, full disclosure, I did get a rub at full turning of the wheel going down a hill, sitting at an angle. Pretty specific, I know, but a rub's a rub. So I am assuming, and we'll have future videos on this to see if I accomplish my goal or if I'm gonna have to trim something. But I'm assuming that my lift, 1.1 inches in the front, is giving me enough clearance that I won't have any more issues with that. By the way, why that's a big deal for me is because every time I take my truck out of the garage, I have to turn and go down a hill, if you will, at that angle, and that's when I get the rub. So that's my story. My truck is lifted. Man, we just went over a railroad track. Man, completely different than my 2020 was. On that, you'd have known it. It was almost like a slam. And that's probably because I had Bilstein 6112s on the front of that truck, and they were adjusted fully. So I didn't have as much shock in the shock absorber as I probably should have. Leave a comment. Let me know. If you've tried to level out your truck, did you fall into the 2-inch spacer fallacy in the front? I'd be curious to know. And are you happy with it? Do you have a negative rake now? Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. RobMotive FST, all about my 2021 Toyota Tundra, and RobMotive JT, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator. Check them out, and if you're interested, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.